مساء الخير لكل المشاهدين. Good evening, Your Excellency, British Ambassador Chris Rampling. We welcome you on MTV. Various events have marked the beginning of this year. We're going to first talk about the Brexit. How do you think it's going to affect UK's relationship with Lebanon?
مساء الخير. The United Kingdom clearly left the European Union on the 31st of January. That was an extremely important moment for the UK, but I think there's also opportunities for Lebanon in this. On one level, there is no great significant change. There's no significant change in our policies and our support, our programmatic support, be it education, security sector, humanitarian, will continue as it has before. But at the same time, there are opportunities, both because the United Kingdom, confident, global, the kind of United Kingdom that everyone comes to expect, we will be out there on things like girls' education and on climate change, where we will be the presidents of COP26 later this year. Really important issues. But at the same time, and I think critically important to Lebanon in this particular crisis, and as we look to head out, I think on trade we will be able to work more closely together and to do more together going forward, based not least on the first ever bilateral trade agreement that we agreed in September of last year.
Are UK's policies regarding Lebanon going to comply with the US or the European policies?
So as we've always been, the United Kingdom will make the United Kingdom's own policies. And I think you will see a self-confident, ambitious, global United Kingdom going forward. Where we agree with Europe, we will do so. Where we agree with the Americans, we will continue to do so. Where we disagree, likewise. But I think at the same time, you will see us strengthening old and new relationships, and as always, coming up with a UK policy.
How does the UK perceive the newly formed Lebanese government? Does it back it, knowing that the Lebanese protesters are rejecting it, or does it look at it as Hezbollah's cabinet, just like the US does?
There is now a Lebanese government after some time of there not being so. That's an absolutely crucial first step, but let's be clear, it's only a first step. This government now needs to get on with developing a plan for what is a very serious economic crisis. No one in this country or elsewhere wants to see Lebanon becoming a failed state. This government needs to develop a plan, a comprehensive plan that is inclusive, that looks at what it can do for the most needy. And if it's serious about that kind of reform, then we'll look at what we can do to support.
Lebanon is not just sinking in a huge economic crisis. Actually, it has hit the bottom. Do you think that the newly formed Lebanese government has the potential to save Lebanon from this disaster? And how can UK help Lebanon?
Clearly, Lebanon is in a very difficult situation at the moment economically, and this crisis is really taking hold, and you can see that on the streets, and you can see that in terms of the impact on the most needy and in terms of unemployment and elsewhere. And what is absolutely imperative now is that the government develops a comprehensive economic plan, as it has promised to do, gets agreement for that, and then starts to implement that. What is clear is that time is running out, and that at the same time it's actions that really matter at this stage and not words. So we need to see that plan, and that needs to be comprehensive and to set out what those decisions are. And might I say, it's also important that the politicians allow the government the ability to form that plan and to take it forward. But at the same time, the United Kingdom is ready to support, but we will support on the basis of actions, and once we see those things happen, and not words.
Last month, Britain freezed Hezbollah's assets. The UK Treasury said that anyone with links to Hezbollah risks prosecution. How could that be applied, whereas Hezbollah is represented by MPs elected by the people and has participated in the formation of the government?
Yeah, so the UK position on Hezbollah is very clear and is well known. And last year, as you allude to, we extended our designation to include the political wing. And the asset freeze recently was a logical extension of that, important moment, an important decision. We continue to have concerns about the regional activities of Hezbollah, which, apart from anything else, are inconsistent with Lebanon's own stated policies on disassociation. But at the same time, we have for years and for many years, been very clear about our support for Lebanon and for its people. We continue to be supportive of Lebanon and its people, and we are comfortable and very clear on our distinction between our policy with regards to Hezbollah on one hand and our policy with regard to the government and the people on the other.
What about the huge protests and how the Lebanese authorities are dealing with the protesters? Do you denounce the use of violence?
Yeah, so this is an extremely important issue, and of course the right to protest, as we've been saying all the way along, is a fundamental human right. There have been a large number of extremely legitimate grievances around corruption, around better governance, around the importance of accountability, and it's extremely important that those are heard. I think first and foremost, the right to peaceful protest needs to be respected. At the same time, violence and intimidation are dangerous. And I think that is an important principle. Where in some cases we have seen either allegations or videos, I think it's important that those are investigated. I think that the security forces are doing playing a key role in the stability of the country at the moment, but where there are alleged abuses and excesses, they need to be investigated transparently and thoroughly, and anyone who has transgressed and broken the law will need to be brought to account.
Are you going to continue supporting the Lebanese army, and how?
Our program with the Lebanese army over many years has been successful. We have helped them, their leadership, but we have helped them to secure the border with Syria for the first time. There is work still to be done on that, and recently we announced a further extension of the program for another 3 years, tens of millions of dollars. So yes, we will continue to support the army. It's not only what people know about, which is the tens of border towers that are there, and the work continues to be needed on the border, but it's also been training in a variety of different areas, and yes, that work will continue.
Let's talk about the Middle East now. Prime Minister Boris Johnson said that while there's no perfect peace plan, Trump's plan has some merits. Do you think that Johnson is going to follow Trump's lead, knowing that this so-called peace plan actually cancels out all the rights of the Palestinians?
Let me first of all be very clear on what the UK position is on this issue. We want to see an Israel that lives alongside a viable, sovereign Palestinian state that's based on 1967 borders with agreed land swaps, a Jerusalem that is a shared capital for both, and also a fair, agreed, realistic solution to the refugee issue. At the same time, we can only get there if there are negotiations between the two parties. So we call on both sides to move into those negotiations.
We thank you for your time, Your Excellency, and for this interview, and we hope the best for both Britain and Lebanon. Thank you again.
أنا كمان شكرا.